I'm delighted to be here, to be back in Dublin. It's a beautiful city, and I'm pleased to return on this occasion. So, taking the place of religion. Here's a question for you all to consider. Here's the future of religion in your lifetime. In your lifetime. What's going to happen to religion in your lifetime? Here's 5 different scenarios. One is that the Enlightenment is over and that religion is going to sweep the planet. That's one possibility. Interesting question is which religion? Another is just the opposite, really, that religion is in its death throes. If that one's true, then this Vatican might be, within your lifetime, the European Museum of Roman Catholicism. And this might be Disney's Magic Kingdom of Allah. If you think that is unbelievable, you should bear in mind that the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul started off as a church. Then it was a mosque. And today it's a museum. So it's amazing what can happen in a short period of time. Another possibility is that religions transform themselves into creedless moral teams. We have allegiances. It's sort of like being for the Red Sox versus the Yankees. And good works are done, but there's no creed involved. There's songs and marches and rituals and uniforms and all the rest, but no creeds. That's another possibility. Another possibility is maybe religion will just diminish in prestige and visibility, rather like smoking. And it will be considered bad form, perhaps, to draw attention to the fact that somebody is still addicted to religion. But as long as they don't blow their smoke in your face, it's okay. You know, just keep it to yourself, please. And if we all have our foibles, and maybe. I think this is actually an interesting prospect in that when I was young, smoking was so glamorous. It really was glamorous, and that's completely turned around, at least in the United States. It's not glamorous at all now. There's been a huge change, and that's, just in less than half a century, really. And so it might happen that we might view smokers and people addicted to religious ecstasy of one sort or another as this is what turns them on, and that's all right as long as they don't interfere with others. So that's another possibility. And then, of course, there's a 5th possibility, which many of my countrymen firmly believe in, I gather. It's a little bit shocking, and that is that Judgment Day will come. And the most recent prediction that's gotten some attention in the media is sometime in May. And so hang on to your hats. I'm going to be in Beirut, Lebanon, all of May, and so I'll be right in the thick of it. If that's what, if Judgment Day arrives, I'll be at ground zero. So, okay. So there's 5 scenarios. All but one of them is wildly wrong. Which one is right? Nobody knows. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. And that in itself is unsettling, because this is a very important matter. It would be nice to have some anticipation so we can think about what we should do about this. Religions are, in fact, I think, changing faster than ever before. It seems to me, and I think you will probably agree, that religion has changed more in the last 100 years than it did in the millennium before that. And I think it's going to change more in the next 10 or 20 years than it changed in the last 100 years. Why? Because of the democratization of information. Religions have never had to face this before. In all the years of growth and development and redesign and honing their message and improving their organization, they've never had to face what every religion faces today, which is a flood, a tidal wave, a tsunami of democratized information and misinformation. Cell phones, transistor radios, television, and, of course, the internet. There is no holding that back. You either must imprison the young, I mean literally imprison them, blockade them from this, or you're going to have to face the fact that your religion has got to deal with all of this information which it never had to deal with before. I've been reading just a little bit about the situation with the Catholic Church in Ireland. One report I read said, not very long ago, there were 3 priests for every parish. Now there's 3 parishes for every priest. And that's going to, the balance is going to change even more. Now the church is going to have to do something about that, and they know that. What they should do is not at all clear. But they're not the only church. Every church, every religion in the world is facing this issue and trying somewhat, even desperately, even hysterically, to deal with it. I do think of this as an evolutionary issue. I think this is an issue of cultural evolution, and that we're going to find religions being transformed both by would-be intelligent design and by the uncaring hand of cultural natural selection. People will try all sorts of things, and some of them will work, and some of them won't. And whatever your views are, if you want to preserve your religion, or if you want it to transform, if you don't think about it from an evolutionary perspective, you're probably going to end up doing something wrong in the hopes of doing something right. I sometimes tell my students that evolution is universal plagiarism. If it's worth copying, copy it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Steal the wheel design and make another one and tweak it just a little bit. That's how evolution has worked for 3 billion years and more, counting. And it's how cultural evolution works too. So we ought to be thinking about which features, to speak very evolutionarily, which phenotypic features of the religions of today are the adaptations that we would want to copy into any successor organizations that we found around, and which ones would we just as soon would go extinct? Well, of the 5 categories that I've set out for you, I want to concentrate on this 3rd category of religions transforming themselves into creedless moral teams, and just look at what this might involve. This is what I said in the book. I said, institutions unlike anything seen before on the planet, basically creedless associations, selling self-help, and enabling moral teamwork. That's very important. Enabling moral teamwork. Using ceremony and tradition to cement relationships and build long-term fan loyalty. What would that be like? Why might we wish for that in the future? And maybe some of you think that's a terrible idea. So let me just give you the reasons why I think that would be a good idea, certainly a worthy idea to consider. Because there are good things that religions now provide that we would sorely miss. Not guilt. I think the systematically induced and maintained guilt is something we could probably all do better without. Not superstition and the glorification of irrationality. I think this is distinctly deleterious to society and to individuals. Not certainly xenophobic hatred, which is deeply, deeply rooted in all religions, but also in all non-religious, tightly organized organizations. Some of the most worrying results of sort of evolutionary game theory and evolutionary psychology are those results which show that the price of internal cohesion and cooperation is very often a sharp boundary and xenophobia. Us against them is nothing that can be easily removed from communities while preserving the things that make communities good. This is one of the things we have to find a workaround for. And particularly not the systematic hypocrisy that religions so often not only foster, not only preserve and perpetuate, but enhance. But still, why might we wish for this future? We would like to eliminate those ills because there are good things that religions now provide. We would lose some good sources of hope and love and beauty and joy and moral teamwork and support of justice and freedom. Now, I dare say every one of us in this room finds these among the most excellent and valuable things in life, all of them. And it's just undeniable that churches, religions, have been good sources of these in many ways. That's why we should take this seriously. Think of the value of ceremony. I think a life without ceremony would not be a life that I would wish for somebody. Many different ceremonies, these are secular or can be secular ceremonies, deeply important. The inauguration, weddings, graduation exercises, and of course, funerals. Learning from religions how to conduct ceremonies with dignity and awe and music and glory is very important. And religious music is, of course, some of the most glorious music in the world. The story, the poetry, the music is wonderful. And it can be preserved and loved and perpetuated without the religious creed that you feel guilty if you don't believe. The good news is that people want to be good. The sooner we create institutions that can do better than religions at helping people be good, the sooner the toxic varieties of religion will go extinct. So let's do it. Thank you for your attention.
Something